Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to February's Lunch and Learn webinar titled Instagram for Business. My name is Michael Besaw, the Assistant Director at the St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce, and your host for today's webinar. So a few things before we start. All of your mics have been muted and your webcams have been disabled. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to enter those through the Q&A box. And this session is being recorded and will be available online through our member center at slcchamber.org. And we'll also send it out as an email a couple hours after the webinar ends today. So we're just going to give everyone a few more minutes to log in and then we'll begin. All right, so we're going to get started. And just to make sure everyone knows, it's the chat window, not a Q&A box, but you can enter those questions throughout the presentation and we'll answer them if we have time, or if not, we'll just save them for the end. So here to teach us all a thing or two is Nicole Ouellette. Nicole runs an online marketing company and 2 co-working spaces, one here in Potsdam, New York. She's into short dogs, young adult novels, 90 Day Fiancé, and hopes that despite these interests, you'll spend the next 30 or so minutes with her learning about Instagram. Before we start, I just want to thank our Leadership Circle sponsors, Clarkson University and St. Lawrence University, for their support of the Lunch and Learn webinar series. And with that, we'll turn it over to Nicole.
All right. Thanks, Mike, for the beautiful introduction. I'm going to share my desktop computer. So I'm happy to email this out to all of you. I literally just finished it a couple of minutes ago. But basically, this is our outline for today. And it has links to some of the things that I like a lot. So you don't need to worry about taking notes necessarily. You will get this after the workshop. So I'm not sure how many of you have, a retail versus, more B2B, or how many of you sell things online or whatever. But this is just meant to be kind of a general orientation and maybe pointing you in some directions that maybe you haven't thought of in terms of your Instagram. I know that I could certainly use some of these tips myself. The good news is my clients' Instagrams are well taken care of. My own, a little bit sketchy, but the reason, of course, you're on this webinar is that that Instagram is a widely popular tool. And what's really interesting about it is just that people are making purchases with what they see on Instagram. I just was zooming in my computer a little bit there so you can see things a little better. So people actually use Instagram to actually think about purchases or follow brands specifically, which is a bit unusual. And then, of course, we've probably all heard of the rapid growth of Instagram, especially compared to some other social networks. We can attribute that to the fact that we all kind of understand social networks a little bit better than maybe when Facebook launched, for example. But regardless, we understand that for many businesses and nonprofits, that Instagram is a great way for us to connect with people that can support us and to build awareness of what we're doing in our business or nonprofit. So let's get into the meat of things, which is a lot of people come to me and they say, well, Nicole, I've read places that personal Instagram accounts have better engagement than business accounts. And and they want to really hold on to their personal Instagram account. And I guess what I want to say is that I think it's really worthwhile for you to switch to a business account if you haven't already, for 2 main reasons. By the way, Instagram also has this thing called a creator account. That's more for like brands. So maybe not location specific. I have a feeling a lot of businesses on this call today are probably location specific. But if you have more of a brand, you can use what's called a creator account. They're very similar. But the main things that business and creator accounts have that personal accounts don't is access to stats and the ability to basically run ads. So I want to spend like 5 minutes getting on my Facebook Business Manager high horse. If you already know what Business Manager is, feel free to use this 5 minutes to, I don't know, take your short dog for a short walk or to refill your coffee. But this is something I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand why it's important. So I went ahead and logged out. Now, what you'll notice is that Facebook normally has kind of that blue, I don't know, maybe it's like a cobalt, trying to figure out, and then when we go to business.facebook.com, this is where we log into Business Manager. And what you can do is if you have an existing, by the way, Facebook, Instagram owned by the same company, and so they use the same ad platform. So if you feel like we did a bait and switch here where I said we were talking about Instagram, but we're actually talking about Facebook, we're really talking about both. So we need to use this interface basically to take out ads on Instagram. So that's why I'm talking about it. But we can do some other things back here too. So the first thing you're going to do is go to business.facebook.com. And even if you already have a Facebook or an Instagram account, you're going to click create an account and you're going to go through the process. And what it's going to have you do is it's going to have you add your Facebook business page, and hopefully connected to your Facebook business page, you've connected your Instagram page. That doesn't mean that every time you post on Instagram, it goes to Facebook and vice versa. It just means that the two have a relationship. So let me log into an existing account to show you what I mean. So I'm logging into and this is my Facebook login, by the way. Now, I am manager of, most people will just have one thing back here, but because I do this for a living, I have a few different accounts back here. So let me log into the account that I use to manage the business pages.
Hey, Nicole, quick question.
Yeah.
Are the biz or creator accounts also free?
Yes, everything's free.
All right, thank
you.
you.
The only thing that costs money is when you take out an ad. And so basically, this format will allow us to do a couple of things with Instagram that if you don't have this set up that you can't do. So the first thing is that if you look in the upper left menu, there's this little hamburger menu. I like that they call it a hamburger menu because of the 3 lines, called Business Manager. Now, don't be intimidated by this interface. It looks overly technical, but you don't have to care about most of this stuff. I just want to show you a couple of things. One is you can take out Instagram ads to people who have already been to your website if you use what's called a remarketing pixel. Now, I'm sure this has happened to you as a consumer. You were looking at something online, maybe a pair of shoes, and then you click away and the ad seems to follow you. You're on Facebook, you see the ad for the shoes, you're on your favorite blog, you see the ad. And that's called is remarketing. Now, as a small business owner, you can actually do this very same thing with both Facebook and Google if you're interested. The only thing that you have to do is you set up like I said, I've got my Business Manager account here. And what I do is I can just click add new data source. If that's the blue button all the way to the left there, I'm going to add a Facebook pixel. And by the way, Facebook, again, Facebook, Instagram, interchangeable. So we're going to call our pixel something, and we're going to type in our URL, click continue. And it's going to give you a little snippet of code that you're going to add to your website. It's the same place you would put your Google Analytics code or any other code. It's usually in the header area. And they will walk you through exactly how to do it because this helps you spend money with them. So they want you to add this, they want you to add this to your site. And what we can see here is that not only can I see basically that there's some events that are attached to some websites that I have control over. And I can also make little goals almost underneath those. So for example, I could take out an Instagram ad to people who had came to my website but haven't made a purchase. As you see here in the last 7 days, no one has made a purchase on this site, so that's not being, but let's look at Anchor Space, that's a better one. So if I'm taking out an ad asking someone to come back and finish their purchase or come back and buy something, I don't want to take out the ad to someone who's already made a purchase. So you can take out Facebook and Instagram ads to people who have already been to your website. Typically, this is less expensive than targeting new people. So worst case scenario, honestly, you put this code on your website and you decide you don't care about it for like a year. And then you say, oh, it'd be really nice to take out some ads. Then you've got that data. Besides being able to take out an Instagram ad to someone who's been to your website, which let's face it, they're probably more into you than the average person. The thing that is most interesting for Instagram is that you can import what's called a product catalog into your Instagram. I'm sure you've seen some brands do this, where you can click on the item and it takes you directly into an online shopping cart where you can purchase the item. It's really straightforward to create a catalog. You just click this create catalog button. And, I don't know how many, I think real estate's pretty specific. Maybe there's one real estate person on here, but in general, most of us probably have something that we sell online. Maybe it's a gift certificate or, merch, t-shirts or something like that. Maybe it's actual products, but we just say that it's e-commerce. And then we just go through and we add we want it to, and we can actually connect automatically with some major e-commerce platforms. That said, if you're using something like Etsy, this is something that I just learned very recently, is that you can actually connect your product through the marketing pixel. So the pixel thing I was just talking about, if you have products on you can add the marketing pixel to, say, your Etsy store, and you can have the catalog brought in based on what your pixel is picking up. So this way, if you change prices or something like that, it should automatically update. Or if you add new products, you don't have to remember to re-import your product catalog every time. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm doing the first part of this webinar on a computer, but I'm going to switch to my phone here momentarily to show you some of the features. But once your product catalog is in your site, you basically, when you do a new Instagram post, you click on it and you start typing in to tag the product. You start typing in the name of the product and it pulls right in. It's super seamless. So if you take one thing away from this presentation, it's that it is completely worth setting up Facebook Business Manager so that you can take out Instagram ads to people who've been to your website and that you can actually tag products. And you can do lots of other stuff back here. Basically, when you take out an ad, if you look in that second column of stuff, the second thing down is Ads Manager. And this is where we would take out an Instagram or a Facebook ad or a to both platforms ad. And trust me, it walks you through exactly how to do it, because what are you doing? You're spending money with Facebook and / Instagram. So anyway, so the only way that you have access to these kind of features is if you have a business account. So it's really worth moving to that. If you get if you get a couple of less views a month, what you're going to gain is way more than what you're going to lose, in my personal opinion. So I see that there's some questions coming in. I don't know, Mike, if we want to address these or keep going, but
We're good so far. We just had a couple people that just joined, so I just let them know where to set up their free account.
Just seeing the notifications, I'm not pulling them up. Just want to make sure we're good. Okay, so now let's get into the meat of it, which is there are 3 content types on Instagram. And for me, something that I, am not super great about is the feed. When you're posting something, the first thing it asks you is, are you posting this to your feed or are you posting this to a story? And kind of some online person said this, maybe it was Shalene Johnson. I can't remember exactly who said it. I should have written it down, but someone said, post to your feed really good content and post to your stories real-time content. So if something is more topical or something like that, with your stories, they typically only appear for 24 hours. I believe you can also save them if you really have a really good one and you don't want to lose. You can do that. So, and another tip that I saw another person say, which I thought was really good, is that usually most companies are looking for user-generated content. That's the idea that someone, came to your store, bought something, and they hung it in their living room, or they took a picture of that guy, really fixing your plumbing or whatever. So in terms of getting user-generated content, you can have them obviously ask them to send it to you. But a lot of websites, especially large websites, will have a sort of submission form on their website that will take an attachment. So you could make a submissions page on your website, yourwebsite.com/submissions. And you could have people kind of send in their stories that way, and you would have some time, or you could kind of look at it and decide kind of how you wanted to use it versus having them post it. And then, I would say for my personal self, I enjoy scheduling things. So for example, I had some meetings this morning, I've got this going on right now, I have a meeting this afternoon. I wouldn't have time to post any content today if I didn't have it scheduled ahead of time. So consider some scheduling platforms. I'm going to jump down to my last bit. I should have moved it. Oh, did I not put it here? Oh, there it is. I forgot to make this say scheduling. Sorry. I moved it from my very functional document to this very pretty document. So, but the two, I just heard about the second one this morning, actually. They allow you to schedule Instagram posts. And what's nice about these 2 platforms is apparently they don't have what are called push notifications. So For example, I'm working with one client and I was just trying to get them to use something. So we picked a platform that posts to Facebook, Twitter, whatever, Instagram being one of them. And how most of these things work is that you're logged into that particular app. And when it's and you can schedule, you can get everything ready ahead of time. And when it's ready to post, the app will say, hey, it's time to post this to Instagram. Click here to post it. And you have to manually post it. With both of these, you can actually schedule them ahead of time and not worry about that push notification issue. Both of these, I think they work similarly. I've used later.com a little bit more myself. You can write and save captions. So if you have a set of captions that you use on most of your products, for example, and then you just maybe delete a couple of them, as you see fit, you can use that feature. And you can schedule up to 30 posts a month for free with both of these tools. So I have a feeling they work really similarly in terms of what they offer. And then if you want to do more, obviously you're gonna pay for that sort of thing. But even if you have some of your stuff going out on a schedule, it kind of takes that worry away from trying to remember to do it in the moment or having time to do it in the middle of the day. Because let's face it, if something's going to fall off your radar, it's going to be probably your Instagram. At least it is with me, because other things are a little bit more important. So just know that you can schedule things ahead of time. You can tag things and all that stuff in the scheduling software.
With that scheduling software, Nicole, can they also add like their Facebook page or Twitter pages in there? Or do they have to use something like
Yes.
Hootsuite with that?
No, I think most of these what I found is in my years of doing this, and at one time I just actually took a whole afternoon off last year and I was like, I'm going to look into all of these. And I watched demos for probably about 25 different scheduling softwares. The real thing is that some of them do something well, but they don't all do. I haven't found one that does everything I want it to do. So I end up kind of working in bits and pieces. But yes, you can use a Hootsuite or something like that. I believe Hootsuite also does the push notification thing for Instagram where, like I said, you schedule it and all that, and then you've got the Hootsuite app on your phone, and when it's time to post, it says, hey, it's time to post to your Instagram, and you have to click on it and actually manually submit it yourself. But you've gotten the whole thing ready. So
Cool.
yeah, so that is possible. But like I said, a lot of them do one or two things really well, and the other things they've tried to add so that they can be a more complete platform. But there is one that I find works well with Google Plus, for example, and it's the only one I found that really does let you schedule the Google Plus, but it doesn't really do anything else that well. So yeah, I'm just saying, I let me save you the 7 hours of research or whatever that I put in. And to say that if you find something that works for you, just use that. If you have to use a couple different tools, so be it. But yeah, I haven't found one that works for me entirely, or else I would tell you. I really would. So the main thing, obviously, with Instagram is images, and most people will like to do things with their images. And actually, this might be, you know what, I'll move to it in a second. But what you can do is you can use some tools, obviously something like canva.com to lay something out that's pretty. And a lot of people will make a folder in, say, Google Drive or Dropbox so that they can post things, so they can make a lot of images really pretty and then be ready to post them on their phone. I will say that if you're doing ads, Facebook and Instagram won't let you take out an ad if it sees that there has more than 20% text on it. So you probably, now that you're thinking about the ads you've seen, you're probably like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense now. But there is this tool that Facebook has that you can upload the picture you're considering taking out an ad for, and it will tell you if Facebook thinks you have too much text or not. It's this text overlay tool. So, and then I found this was on a webinar I was listening to a couple of months ago. You know how sometimes you have a really good thing and you have a good picture of yourself or something and you want to put it in front of a product or something like that. There's this remove.bg, which actually takes your photo and removes the background. And it actually works really well. I tried it with a few photos and it seems to work better than you would expect. And certainly much less time than going in Photoshop and tracing around yourself. So if you like that kind of look, that's just a nice little tool. And, and then obviously if you want to have a couple of photos together, the Collage app is built into Instagram. To me, I don't use the Collage app a ton. I've seen some businesses use it in a cool way where there was this snowstorm that we got and someone posted a picture of the front of their business the year before and then on the same day with, 25 feet of snow in front of it. So that was kind of interesting. Sometimes collages too, I'll have a client and I'll say, hey, you're holding an event, take photos. And they'll send me photos and they're all kind of a little bit terrible. Sometimes a collage can be a way that you can sort of, crop into the good parts of those photos and maybe adjust the lighting and kind of make something a little bit sort of salvageable. I'm not saying that's the only reason to use a collage. I'm not saying that it has to be a series of crappy photos. I'm just saying that, you don't have to worry about like kind of one image standing on its own when you use a collage. But I've definitely seen some interesting uses, but it's something you want to obviously use sparingly. And then in terms of stories, like I said, I promise I'll move to like my, I'm going to move it to my phone so that we can see some of these in actual Instagram. So stories have some specific things that are with them. One of them is you've probably seen this before, a geolocation sticker, hashtag Potsdam or something like that. That's something that's unique to stories, but they also have these interactive elements. So, a poll is usually, there's two options, like typically yes or no, but you can also have like red or blue, whatever. There's two options to the poll. An emoji slider, or like, you can say like, how excited are you? And then there's like the excited face and you can slide how excited you are. And then you can ask open-ended questions with the stickers. So you can ask a question and there's like an input box. So what's interesting about this is it's a way to get people to interact with your story. But what we found is that you can actually take out Instagram ads to your stories. And one of my colleagues, I'm in a bunch of Facebook, Instagram ad groups on Facebook that people post kind of stuff that they've tried that's worked well. And this guy basically, I don't know why everyone's selling leggings, but he was working for a company that sold leggings. And he took out this ad on the store. He basically made a poll and it was like, which color would you want? And I think they came in like red or pink or something like that. And it was like a 2-part question. And so he ran the ad with the poll and found that it increased purchases by 28% on this leggings ad, which is interesting. I think there's something disruptive. Most ads don't really ask anything of us, they're just like automatically playing videos, or they're like, buy this thing. But like having to interact with an ad, I think made the people maybe consider the purchase a little bit more seriously. So I thought that was interesting. But yes, you can take out ads to stories as well as you can to, individual images, but also videos. So, you can also post video content. It has to be under 60 seconds, I believe. Maybe it's 90. I meant to double check this figure before this webinar. Sorry. In any case, it's a short video. And then you've probably seen the boomerang effect that's built in, where like basically, it kind of goes back and forth, almost like a wave lapping on the shore. So it's almost like a sort of built-in animated GIF that reverses itself. But in general, what I found with most platforms is that video ads are typically the cheapest kind of ads to do versus other types of ads. And if you think about it, if we were all in a room and I would ask you, how many of you watched a video today? I'm guessing that most of you would raise your hand. And then if I said, how many of you have made a video in the last 3 months? Maybe one person would raise their hand. So the idea is that people watch videos, but not a lot of people make them. So I think that's part of it. And also I think for some reason, Facebook has really been pushing the video. They have the Instagram Live, and they have the Facebook like channels that you can subscribe to. So I think they're trying to get in a little bit on YouTube's market. But anyway, if you take out a video ad, it's typically a cheaper kind of ad to do. And there are some nice services. You don't feel like you have to take all this footage yourself. There's video stock footage that you can, there's royalty-free music. And I have actually a client that does like video content stuff. And he said, honestly, I recommend promo.com for people who want to put together, really like nice looking videos. They have templates and you just, they have text overlay and you can, adjust the text, adjust the colors, use some of their stock footage, add it in with some of your footage, obviously, of your products or your services, and you can make some pretty slick looking video ads. I believe that there's a 2-week free trial. So I guess if you were really cheap, what you could do is just like get ready, get the trial, make all your videos that end the trial. But if you're going to do stuff like this on a regular basis, I think that it's like 20 or $50 a month. I think it's closer to 20 than 50. I remember one of them was 50. I'm trying to remember what part of it made it higher pricing. But point being, if you're going to do this a lot, hopefully you make more than extra $20 a month on your videos. That would be the idea, right? So, yeah, so those are some of the things. Hashtags. I have a lot of clients come at me and they say, oh, I just feel like I'm some, hashtag hipster, for using too many hashtags. But the reality is that if you post them to Facebook, you don't want to post the same content necessarily to Instagram and Facebook. What I would do if you're going to post the same image is just get rid of the hashtags for when you post to Facebook. But hashtags can help your content be more visible. If you think about it, it's not like there's someone sitting on Instagram being like, oh, that's a picture of a cat with sunglasses on a beach, So the only way for it to know that it's a cat with sunglasses on a beach is if we hashtag cats of Instagram, hashtag cats, hashtag beach, hashtag beach life, and that way people who are interested in cats or sunglasses or beaches are likely to see that picture of yours. And maybe you have lots of other content about cats on beaches wearing sunglasses that they would also enjoy. So in terms of types of hashtags, I just put a couple in here. Location, I think a lot of us have local businesses, and I follow certainly local threads I like to see, oh, what's going on? What's going on here? And even if I'm visiting a new place, I will check out the location-based hashtags and kind of see what's going on in real time. From cool people, ideally. There's probably some hashtags you use in your industry. I wouldn't say, if you think about it, obviously people from your industry aren't buying, your thing but it can kind of give you some ideas of, are people talking about, is it t-shirts, TSHIRTS? Is it TEESHIRTS? Is it graphic tees? Like I don't know, what terms are people using? Sometimes people say, oh, look at your competitors' hashtags. I don't know. I'm like in my own lane. I'm running my own race personally. I don't mind looking and seeing somebody's doing this, but I wouldn't spend a lot of your energy on the competition necessarily. But I do really like that, you don't have to keep typing these things in. There are places that you can save, like I said, I use the save captions in later, it saves me from retyping the same thing over and over. But my now ex-husband swears by the note app on his phone, saving all his hashtags perfectly fine. So, and he's a pretty good Instagrammer too. So, I mean, either way, don't feel like you have to just keep track of all these hashtags all the time. And I get people who are like, well, do I put 20 or do I put, okay, like, I don't know, don't put 100 and, don't try to be, I usually put a couple of clever ones in mine. Like a little like sarcastic thing, but I don't actually expect to come up and search with it. So don't be like overly clever and don't put like, I don't know, 100. I think 20 hashtags are fine. I think less than that is fine. Like I said, if we're getting hung up on like, do I put 26 or do I put like 22? Just put as many until you feel like you're done. And if you look at it and you feel like a jerk, just maybe delete a couple, I guess. And then, I want to talk a little bit about collaborations on Instagram, and then I'll move over to my phone here. I was trying to figure out, like, to keep moving back and forth felt a little chaotic. So I'm sorry if this feels like I'm just talking at you a lot and not showing you things. The thing with Instagram is, you can run contests, by the way, on Instagram, which are fun. Facebook has a lot of rules about contests. So I typically like to use some kind of contest app if I'm going to run one. And just as an FYI, but if you're looking for something kind of fun to do, sometimes a takeover can be fun. I'm sure you've seen people do that, where like, if you're in similar, you take over another business's Instagram account for when they take over yours. And so you're getting exposure kind of to their people and their, so obviously it makes sense if you're in a related or, if your customers are similar, that works really well. Resharing content with attribution is also a nice thing to do. Regramming, we call it. By we, I don't know, I call it that. Maybe other people don't call it that, but there is an app that allows you to do that, and we'll do it with attribution. I'll show you that in a second. And obviously, using some interactive elements on your stories can be a good way to get some sort of collaboration with your audience. Maybe you want to ask them a question. Hey, should the next St. Lawrence County Chamber webinar be? This or this,
Great question.
I don't know.
We have a comment here to learn more about the takeover. Can you talk about that a little more?
Oh, sure. So like I was going to do this so we have a co-working space here in Potsdam, and there's the Cornell Cooperative Extension has their Harvest Kitchen. So they have like a collaborative sort of rentable kitchen, and we have rentable office space. And so we were doing a workshop with them in October, and I said, hey, like, I'd be happy to take over your Instagram. Basically, it has to be someone that obviously I trust with my Instagram username and password, right? So I would give them access to my account. I get access to theirs. And for the week, I am posting about Harvest Kitchen and how great they are or whatever. And it feels it's a lot easier to kind of brag about someone else maybe than it is to brag about your own stuff. At least I find that. So it's just this, and if you look up Instagram takeovers, I'm sure in your industry, so maybe there's like Instagram takeovers for a bed and breakfast or whatever. Like I'm sure you'll see some examples of how people run them. It's typically for some period of time, and it usually maybe is around some kind of event. So, like in our case, like I said, we had an upcoming workshop together, so it made sense for us to do that. But yeah, there's no hard and fast rules here. Right, we're in the kind of wild west of Instagram right now, so we can do what we want. To a certain extent. I'm just saying that I think we're all sort of figuring out like what works well. So don't worry about making a mistake as long as you don't call someone a jerk. I think we're good here. As I tell my team, we're not brain surgeons. It's okay if we use the wrong hashtag. It's okay. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, there's all these articles that people write about like, oh, here's how to ruin your Instagram. And I'm like, oh my God, like, yes, let's make everyone worried about stuff that doesn't actually matter. All right. So I'm going to switch this to my phone and show you a couple of tools that I like to use. If now is okay. How much more time do we have, Mike?
Yeah, we have a half hour.
Okay, wonderful.
So you're good. I did get one more question, Nicole, and I don't know if you want to do it now. It's just to ask you more about brand representatives on Instagram.
Oh,
influencers.
Okay, got it. Yep, no problem. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about influencers. So I was actually looking into this on behalf of a client. So if you're looking for influencers, so let's say this. So like Martha Stewart is listed up. So I was looking up potential influencers for this client, and Martha Stewart was listed as one of them. And I was like, okay. So you have like typically influencers will charge you for a post, some amount of money. And there are multiple like you can search for influencers. There's some paid services that will be your agency and look for influencers for you and all that. And then there's some tools that, again, the 2-week free trial, like, oh, you can search influencers with our 2-week free trial. So like Social Bakers, and I'm trying to think of the other ones out there, but that's the one I ended up on. And it will, by looking at these influencer, like, you can see like, okay, how many posts do they do? Like, who, what hashtags are they using, and like kind of how do they affiliate themselves? And you can probably get a pretty good idea of whether someone's going to represent your company well or not. You're typically going to pay them for the post. And part of that is you can give them some parameters. So like, we need you to post with these certain hashtags, or we need you to, we want you to hold the bag or something like that. You can give them a little, but you have to also understand that they have their audience that they're showing this to. So you have to give them a little bit of creative freedom. They're not a technician, they're a collaborator. You know what I mean? Like, and so typically they're going to charge you some amount of money. Maybe it's a flat fee. Maybe it's something for a series of posts or something like that. Most people work really individually because they represent themselves, right? So pricing can vary widely. What I would do is, if it was me, so I'm going to look at obviously this person's post history. I'm going to maybe read the reviews on the influencer sort of dashboards, like to see if, do they deliver products on time? Are they easy to work with? Are they not jerks in real life? And, I might pick a few. The thing is, to me, it's just tough because you're probably going to pay them at least a couple $100, maybe more in some cases. Like obviously Martha Stewart is not going to hawk your products for $200. She's going to probably charge you a little bit more money for that. So it's just a matter of kind of what your budget is and understanding that it's going to be a little bit of an experiment, and mostly what you're getting is exposure. And so if that's what you want, if you're like, oh, I want my product to be written about in, I don't know, this magazine or Better Homes and Gardens or something, I would just reach out to Better Homes and Gardens myself. But yeah, so I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just saying that just manage your own expectations of like, yes, one person mentioning it isn't necessarily going to catapult my business. Will it help me get some more, so, okay, if I'm going to pay this influencer, $300 and I look and I see that, okay, she's sold this product or whatever, this other person's product. And I see that, she got them an extra 300, Instagram follows and, this many clicks to their website. And then you can figure out like, okay, well, would that be worth it for me? So I don't mean to give a politician answer there, but, it's a little complicated. So I hope that answers this person's question. Like I said, I don't mean to be evasive. It's just, as I tell someone, basically we're throwing a bunch of spaghetti at a wall and we're seeing what sticks. So if you've got a little bit of money to experiment, by all means, go with influencers. There's a reason that mostly it's brands that go with influencers, I think, which is that they have a little bit of money to play with and they have the markup that they can lose a little bit of money and still, and by lose money, I mean not make money, and still not actually lose money. So a couple apps that I like a lot, that obviously what's nice about Instagram, and by the way, if you manage multiple accounts, you can have up to 5 accounts before you get this, which is stupid. So within the Instagram account, obviously we can do a fair bit. So when we're posting something, hold on, I'm just trying to think of. I like this, that taxes are essential yearly subscription to the country you live in. Childhood's your free trial. So as you see here, when I pull this up, you'll notice that I have the little boomerang thing that I guess I haven't installed on here. And then I have the collage app that is built right in. So if you want to make posts, like, I think I mentioned that it comes, Instagram comes with these things. That's what's about, what those are about. I mentioned before, like if you want to lay out something pretty, there is, let's see, things I thought I had already done. Sorry, folks. I got this, I switched to Android a couple of months ago and I never looked back, just kidding. So I can look and I can see, so as you see here, we can basically work with some Instagram posts that are sort of ready to go, but we can edit them. Now there is obviously if you're more of a computer person like I am, you can work on this on a computer, but you can also work on this here. And as you see, I can just download this and save it to my phone so that I can post it to Instagram. So I would say that since basically your social media is resting on your image looking nice, like it's nice to kind of take a couple of minutes to make it look nice. And speaking of making things look nice, so Jennifer, who's actually one of the people on this, is the one who introduced me to Snapseed, which is now a Google product. But basically, if you're looking, I think, is it Visco or Vosco, VSCO? When we all were, are we Bosco girls? It's a similar app, but basically what I can do is I can take an image and I can slightly retouch it. So let's take this awesome image of my dog. And I can, hold on. So I can tune my image. So I can say, all right, let's adjust her bright. Okay, she's too bright there. And at any point, by the way, if I hold my finger on it, I can see what it looked like before and what it looks like now. Okay, not much difference. Let me just do it ridiculous. There we go. Oh, come on. Okay, fine. Make me wrong on the internet here. So I can see tune image. So I see I can adjust brightness and contrast. I can crop her. I can adjust her. Anyway, so you can make the image look really nice. I can crop her. Again, as a short dog enthusiast, obviously. There we go. So once I have it looking the way I want it to look, not to say that this is it, I can just export, and I can export what I want to do is I want to export a copy of my photo. I don't want to save over my original photo. I just want to save this copy that I've edited. But it's worth it if you've taken a picture. It's worth you, doing, like I said, you don't have to spend 1,000 years on this, but you can spend like 30 seconds to a minute just making that photo look really good, because it's going to be in your news feed, and it is, going to be representing you. I talked a little bit about reposting stuff. So, oh my God. Sorry, I thought oh yeah, hold on. So basically what it'll do is I can say, let's see here, I'm trying to think of somebody I want to repost here. All right, so now let's say that I can have my feed pulling in, which apparently I didn't think to set up before my Instagram workshop, because I was making a beautiful, yeah, this app, someone just asked, it's called Repost, I think. Yeah, it's just called Repost, and it has the little rainbow in the background. There's a bunch of apps that do this exact same thing. So, and if you're on an iPhone, there might be a better version of this. But as you see here, I can either search by a specific handle of a person that I want to repost, or I can look at my news feed. So if I say like, oh, I really like this, I can click repost now, allow. And so my repost settings, I can copy the caption. Obviously I can move so as you see, Visit St. Lawrence County is in the lower, left corner there. But if I wanted to, I can move it to the side. I'm just clicking move author, and it's just moving it around. I don't know. So, obviously, like if the overlay of the attribution is kind of interfering with photo, you can kind of move it around to where it should go. I have a feeling if I click remove the watermark, it's going to be like, there we go, gets rid of their little repost thing. And then, oh, it's making me upgrade to share the photo. Oh, okay. Well, okay, I can save this. There we go. Annotation. Yeah. So point is, find the repost app that works best for you, and you can either, repost things in the moment as you see, or I could repost it later. And like I said, I can search by handle. I can probably search by hashtag, all that stuff. I'm not attached, obviously, to this repost app because I haven't even configured it. So I'm sorry about that, folks. I was so excited to make that beautiful flyer that you saw earlier. And then in terms of if you have a video, I thought this was a really good tip from an Instagram person. So you can actually cut, like if you have a long form video and you want to crop, if you want to crop a portion, by the way, that ad pops up every time for me to buy it. I just have to cross it out. So I can select a video that's on my phone. Like I have this 20-minute video, and I can crop it. I can say like, oh, take this 15 seconds of it or whatever. Now, why you wouldn't do this in a video app, why you wouldn't do this like on your computer and cut it somewhere like that. I hate doing stuff from my phone, as probably has become obvious with this webinar. I like to do everything I can from my computer and then use my phone, yeah, sure, to post it or to, of course it's going to take forever to process it because we are, point being is that you can take a long video and you could just crop like one 15-minute section of it and sort of tease it in your thing. Now, what's funny is in my beautiful, you know what, I'm going to stop sharing on here and move back to my computer. Hold on. Stop share. Okay, and then I'm going to share back with my computer. One thing that me moving to my more beautiful thing didn't tell you is a little bit about how to link stuff in Instagram. I'm realizing that didn't pull over for whatever reason. I was copying and pasting and I forgot this part, I guess. So a lot of people, and I'll put this in the beautiful one, I promise. I just forgot to put it in there apparently. A lot of people ask about linking on Instagram. You probably noticed with captions that you can't link stuff, like the links don't work, they're not live or whatever. So what some people do, myself included, is you can use this service called Link in Bio. So in. Okay, fine, make me look bad. Am I spelling that right? Hold on. I thought I was all ready for this, guys. I even practiced in my little recording closet yesterday. So one thing you'll notice is that like sometimes people have this link in photos, and this is a free service. Maybe there's a limit to it, but what you can do is you can actually add stuff and have these photos link. So it's like a little bit of a workaround for making it. And as you see here, so here's a blog that I did about this woman whose house I lived in for 4 years, hilariously enough. So like, here's a link to the blog that I wrote about. So you can link to different kinds of things. It doesn't have to be products. It can be blogs. It can be whatever, but it's actually completely free to use. You log in with Instagram and you just have to manually, I'll just show you how it works. Now, obviously, if you, oh, no, not them. I'm on the wrong, hold on. I was in one of my clients' accounts. Excuse me. Oh, fine. All right. I'm in one of my clients' accounts. Excuse me. Oh, they want me to. They're going to be like, why do we have this account? So, well, if I wanted to, like, let's say I wanted this to link to the university, I could actually add, so that I could add this photo and make it link. Yep. So I can say, yes, link to, yeah, that's a link in here, save link. So now that, as you see, that photo is now linked. So if they put link in bio, link my.photo / their account, that one photo will be in there. So that's one workaround. Listen, I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm just saying that people are universally annoyed that Instagram isn't letting us link to stuff. So they've come up with these Lincoln photo. So that's one. The better option, obviously, is the product catalog thing that I showed you earlier. So if you have real estate or if you have e-commerce products, you can link to your entire product catalog right in there. And then the final thing you can do is if you have a bunch of followers, you can actually put links in your stories. But it takes most of us a while to get to 10,000 followers. So just wanted to let you know that if you're wondering why a celebrity can do something and you can't, that's why. It's not you, it's them. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've got.
That was awesome. Thank you. When you were on the webinar, I was just looking, to see what other support exists out there, and I found business.instagram.com.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If that's a usable.
That's the Instagram. Oh no, there's tons. Here's the thing, guys. There are people who do this all day long, and they have made amazing videos. If I was a super rich person and I could just sit around and make awesome videos for free for you guys all day, I would, but there's definitely tons of great useful information out there for sure. And obviously, if it's on Instagram's website, they have some case studies in there. And if you ever see something that someone's doing, chances are it's at least possible. I've had clients who insist like, oh, I saw that somebody did this. And I'm like, okay, if you send me an example, I'm happy to help you figure out how to do it. And they usually can't because I think they saw it somewhere else maybe. But the point being, yes, there's lots of great resources out there and excellent YouTubers who have great tutorials. If you want to figure out, oh, how do you import a product catalog from your Squarespace website, or how would I do what are the kinds of things I can regram if I have an online bookstore? There are people who have blogged it. So yes, the internet is our oyster.
Thanks, Nicole. I'll open the floor up if anyone has any additional questions. And while we're waiting, I just want to thank you again, Nicole, for your time and expert tips on Instagram. We've used Nicole and her marketing firm, Breaking Even Communications, Inc., and they've been great to the Chamber. So if you are in need of a marketing firm, I highly recommend them.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I just see a comment that people say that I go fast. What's tough about these kind of situations is that I have some people who came to this who were doing Instagram for like 4 years and they wanted the deep tips. And then I have some people who are just starting. So I end up shooting for the middle and kind of not making anybody happy. So I'm sorry if it felt like it was fast. Don't think that that has anything to do with your intelligence or ability to do this. It was just trying to kind of make as many people happy as possible, for sure. So I'm so sorry that that person felt like it was fast. But
And,
yeah,
and this is recorded too, so if it was fast, you'll get the link to this, and you can go back and kind of
I'm a little
watch
bit
it.
of a fast talker too, which doesn't help. But and there's a lot of great local businesses that are doing stuff with Instagram too. So I follow them, reshare their stuff. I mean, whenever someone reshares my stuff, I basically get notification that that's happened. So so that's the host stopped my sharing. Just kidding. So yeah, I say, like I said, let's all, we're all small business owners, like let's help each other out. And I'd love to, like I said, I'd love to see your Instagram handles. So when I send out the things, please share your Instagram handle with me. I'm happy to follow you and try to regram you when it makes sense and all that stuff. So it looks like, I think Mike's going to talk about the upcoming LinkedIn. Now, unfortunately, I'm not doing it, but it sounds like this person probably knows what they're doing. I'll let
Yeah,
Mike.
thanks, Nicole. So you're doing a good job. I was just going to let you keep going. So next month on March 4th, we have Leveraging LinkedIn with Ken Polk, and he works at a tax and accounting firm as a sales training manager, and he's pretty experienced in LinkedIn. So if you've been on there, for years, or you're just trying to figure out how do I get on there, definitely a good webinar to check out. So that's next month on Wednesday, March 4th, and you can register online at slcchamber.org. And you can also view all of our other archived webinars on slcchamber.org.
And let me just plug LinkedIn real quick. I know it seems like a social network that people aren't on, but I've gotten 2 out of my 3 biggest clients off of just one was a professor at a college I went to that I didn't even have. That gave me this lead, and I got this client that was really good. So if you do any kind of B2B stuff, like I know it doesn't seem like LinkedIn's a place to be, but it's really cooler than you think it is. All I'm gonna say.
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, I agree. We have a couple upcoming events at the Chamber. On Thursday, March 12th, we have our annual membership breakfast, and that's going to be held at the Best Western University Inn in Canton from 8 a.m. to 9:30. We'll have board elections, budget review. We'll share some of our goals and updates for 2020. It's $20 per person, and that includes an old country breakfast buffet. So you can register online at slcchamber.org or email Joe by Friday, March 6th to save your seat there. We have our Business in the Spotlight networking event, the first one for 2020, on Tuesday, March 31st, hosted at the Three Bears Gluten-Free Bakery and More in Potsdam. And again, you can register online at SLC Chamber. The Kids Expo. This is our 3rd year, I believe, and it's hosted at the SUNY Canton Roos House Athletic Center, going down on Saturday, March 14th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thanks to our sponsors, North Country Savings Bank and St. Lawrence Health System, we have kids 17 and under will be free. So please save that date. And finally, on April 23rd, we are coordinating the Total Internship Management Workshop with the Associated Colleges of the St. Lawrence Valley. We'll be welcoming Dr. Robert Schindel from Intern Bridge. He's the nation's leading experiential education research and consulting firm. And they're just going to show us all, the basics of an internship and how to create one for your business. So definitely check that out. And that is all we have for today's webinar. Thank you all again for joining us, and thanks, Nicole. It's been great. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, but we'll be sending a recording out and Nicole's notes that she made pretty for us all. Thank you again to our Leadership Circle member sponsors, Clarkson University and St. Lawrence University, for the continued support in the series. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone. Have a good one.